own worth and defend our own voice, which lets the true market emerge. The strength of the design lies in each of our participation, since we are the nodes that channel our energy end to end. As we claim responsibility to uphold our own rights, we radiate the power that brings our truth into light.
Hey, welcome to Bitcoin Homeschool, everybody. As we get started, I want to shout out to Tip NZ. Tip is sharing her music for our intro and extra for today's show. She educates through her music for in the world of Bitcoin with some very cool visual storytelling. We're so happy to have her. Check her out at tipnz.com. And in today's episode, Tali and I are going to talk with a lovely Bitcoin couple from India, Vikas and Chhaya. So what happened is we were discussing distribution of our Bitcoin games, and we learned that they homeschooled their son. And Tali and I just could not resist getting them on the show. We had no idea what homeschooling was like in India, so this was a lot of fun. And now, without further ado, here's our discussion with the thoughtful Vikas and Chhaya.
So we were talking before about getting games to India, and then we started talking about schooling, and that led to today's conversation. So why don't we start with, if you guys could just do a quick introduction of yourselves, and then we can go from there.
We are a family of three, and from India. Right now, living in the eastern part of India, in a state called Sikkim. So I am a software developer. I do freelance. My wife can give her introduction.
Yeah, I have my own business. I'm taking care of tech intelligence solutions for our clients.
We are parent of one boy. He turned 13 like a few days back.
Yeah, happy birthday to him.
We got into Bitcoin, and that's how we got into the game.
That's great. Okay. And so for schooling, is homeschooling an option in India? Maybe we could just start there for our audience on what options are available to you.
So, yeah, homeschooling is legally allowed here. There are some laws which say that the government should enforce compulsory education, but it is applied to the government, so not to the parent or anyone else. So sometimes it becomes a problem for some parents. So we just find a way to just work around that, but it is a very rare chance. Otherwise, the government doesn't bother. And then just like that, when you are doing we call it the 10th, I think you call it high school maybe. So that is a general exam which is given, because then you are eligible for universities or specializations and things like that. So otherwise, it's open.
And what has been your approach with education?
So approach is mostly about letting him be curious, the way they are born, the way they ask questions, and let them be having the courage to ask questions. Let them be having not to be shy to say I don't know. It's like so. Let them make mistakes, and let them know that they can make mistakes. It's not a bomb to say that you have made a mistake or something. So and then there are many things which are happening politically, mostly in India, last 10-20 years. So it's also creating the youth, and there is a lot of unemployment. So it's also creating the youth which is getting misguided and going in wrong directions. So, and those are all educated youth. So, and there are many other factors which took me to this decision.
Can I ask, just for the sake of our audience understanding, what is the school system like, or the education atmosphere like in India? And the reason I ask that question is because in Asia, I think our general sort of perception of Asian education culture is that it's very exam heavy, and especially like in Japan and China, every level you go up in grade, you're competing against other people so that ultimately you can go to the good universities. What's it like in India?
I would say it's about the same. But for homeschoolers, it would be slightly different because it's like they're not going through from first grade to ninth grade like other students. They are mostly taking 10th and 12th exams, which is what is required for your graduation degree. Basically, for admission, they just take the aggregate of these two exams. And nowadays, there is entrance also.
And is it so competitive to the point where their entire like first 18 years of their life is just about prepping for those two exams? Is it like that?
Not really, not really. They're just enjoying themselves, learning gradually like every other kid. The only difference that I felt was like in school, it is like they teach something at a certain age and then they move to the next grade and the next grade. It's like compartmentalized sort of, and your child might be good at something else and interested in something else. So that kind of freedom schools they do not provide. So that is where I feel that homeschooling was bridging that gap, and our son had the freedom to choose to learn whatever he's interested in, and do his academics as well, like all
Mm.
those basic subjects, Hindi, English, history, geography, mathematics. They're going on the side, but it's not like he has a pressure of scoring, he has a pressure of competing. He's learning on his own, at
Mm.
his own pace. There's no pressure, there's no competition, but he's interested, and that's the most important thing that I really liked about homeschooling. That kids lose interest in studies as soon as they go to school, or like even I was not much interested in studying, but homeschooling kept it like interesting for
What,
him
what
and for us also.
what does he like? What is his interest?
I think he likes maths, and I totally hated maths when I was in school.
Ah, okay.
So his
Okay.
favorite subject is mathematics. Yeah.
Okay. And so he's been able to do more because you just let him go. And are you teaching him the actual, or are you getting some help from other sources? How are you teaching the math?
Mostly we are teaching, and sometimes we take online support. Like there's Kahn Academy,
Hmm.
so some of those fundamental basics we take help from there.
Got it. And is
Otherwise, we have books.
yeah, is do you think he's ahead of where he would have been had he taken the more the state approach? Is he further ahead in math because he enjoys it and he's just doing it?
I have never really put any sort of like measurement way of
Mm.
finding out like where he's at. The only way I see it is whatever his concepts are, they're much more clear than what my concepts were. And I'm rather learning to teach him.
Hmm.
Whereas his concepts are so clear that he just, does it faster than me and rather explains to me, Mom, it is done this way. And so it is like maths has also evolved and the school teaching methods have also evolved. So he has uh, like he's catching up with the current time
Hmm.
very nicely, and I'm just okay with that because in our times teaching methods were very different. We were mostly mugging up things, not really understanding anything, and like just trying to score. And
Hmm.
their time is so different that their concepts has to be clear. They have to understand the question can come in a different way also. And for us, if it is presented to us in a different way, it was slightly difficult for us.
Got it. Got it.
So that way he's ahead, and I would say
That's cool. Okay.
my own experience was like I was behind.
Gotcha.
I can totally relate. I wanted to pose this question. So when we spoke last time, you mentioned that homeschooling is not very common in India. What made you, well, first of all, how did you come across the idea in the first place? And what made you decide to pursue it instead of putting him in the public school system?
I was getting acquainted with homeschooling earlier on, and when we were outside India in Peru around 2013, 2014. So that was the time when he was probably 3 or 4 years old. So he was joining some play schools and things. So and Peru is very westernized, so it has a lot of the culture is in that way, and Indian culture or Asian culture is very different. So, like if you go to other places outside India, around Asia, also the culture has a very similar vibe. But when I saw that the students were at like coming in school dress at 6 p.m. in the evening, it's almost sunset. and I was looking at that. So it was very unsettling. Like, why are the students in school dress right now? Like, they should have come home like around noon, or maybe 2 o'clock. So why are they in school dress here? So then I made discoveries that they generally stay in the school for most of the time, so that the parents can come also from work. So India is also in a way single parent. Mostly it's a single parent working by majority, but now in urban areas both parents also working, but still. So in India we always have a parent home. Someone is always there, or maybe the grandparents are there. So that was the first thing which I found out was something was there. And then I had studied a lot of things about the Latin America, and I had studied many things I liked, many things I disliked. So I did not get very comfortable with the idea of obedience. So then in India, then we came back, and there was a lot of things happening around that time. So I really didn't like the way educated people were making decisions. So it's like I call the educated people, and many of the people also use the word educated people make decisions which are we just wonder how can you make such a decision.
Can you
So
give an
what's the point?
example? Yeah, I mean, I can imagine, but I'd like to hear your an example. Can you give an example of one?
And many examples will be in politics, the choices that they make, or the actions that they take in certain aspects of life. For example, here we are having a lot of bad things happening in many places in India, in rural parts of India, and those the people who are participating are all graduates. So when these things are happening and such graduated people going through a very good education are doing that, so it questions then what did you go through? What was the point of education? Like,
I'm sorry. Can
Like a
can
there
you
has to
be
be something.
like an indoctrination almost. Yeah.
can you just, I know it might be difficult to talk about, but can you give just one or two examples of the type of bad things you're referring to that they're doing?
I'll give you a little easier example. Like in the days when I was in my 20s, something. So we had equitable environment in workplace, in the society around, and we did not question the person by, or we did not categorize people by their religion or caste or things. So it was like what is there, but I don't know how that implies. It's like ignore it completely. And now those questions are quite often talked about, and nothing else has changed. If you are in my profession or any profession, how does that matter? What category should a person be put in? Like, this is the job, you do the job. Yeah, I'll respect you exactly the same, no matter what category you fall into. But now this example or question which gets asked, and then there is a discrimination based on that, and it has gotten quite big compared to, say, 30 years back. So it's and so our education system has improved. We are now coming out with more educated youth by percentage, and the quality has improved compared to that. But then this new situation that has started, it is like it has to someone has to wonder why who is this starting, like what then. When we are getting more educated, when we are getting more reasonable, when we are getting more practical at understanding things and science and history and everything else, how are you coming up with weird reasons.
Yeah. Yeah. Identity politics seems to be global.
Yeah, we were
So,
talking to our kids just earlier this week, and one of them shared with someone who was asking about homeschooling. She said, as a homeschooler, when we were growing up, we never thought of our parents being by like different races. It was just mom and dad. That's it. There was no other labeling except mom and dad. And when they hang out with your friends, there's no labeling of the shade of the color on their skin. Is just these are the families and these are the kids, and there was none of that. And she said it wasn't until she left the homeschooling environment. She had graduated high school. She went on a traditional overseas study program that somebody started asking her about how she feels about being biracial, and she was like, "Huh, I guess I am biracial." But up until that point, it was just irrelevant. It's not. It has nothing to do with your character. It's nothing to do with your abilities. But now that's all she can see. Like every time she interacts with people in college, the first thing that comes to mind is what color are they? How should I approach our conversation? How should I be more sensitive? All of that stuff. But it was irrelevant before she was exposed to the public system.
yeah, the identity. Now you're a certain sex that thinks you're a different sex, and but you're a certain color, and therefore you get labeled. You get that stamp,
Yeah. So
whatever
I
it
can
is.
totally relate
Yeah.
to that. Thank you for sharing.
I was just giving one more example. Like the kids when they are young, and they are like 7, 8 years also, and they make up friendship like in half an hour, and the friendship is has no bar of age also, has no bar of what you do or anything. Like you are in my neighbor, do you like this game? And I like this game, or I don't like that game, or will you do this with me? I can do that, and that's all. The
Hmm.
deal is made on a very very simple terms, and then we are friends.
Yeah.
It's like when they're
I.
younger, they don't even need a language. Like because
Hmm.
sometimes we were like in south of India, and none of us speak South Indian language. But my son would get along with all the kids. They
That's
are speaking
awesome.
their language, he's speaking his language. Everybody's in the park, they're just having a blast. But
Yeah.
now he's like more conscious. Like I can make friends if they speak English. Like, okay,
Interesting.
or
Yeah.
they speak Hindi.
I
These are the two
remember.
languages.
I love that. I love that you could just go out and play. I had a flashback while you guys were saying that. I remember growing up, and I was, um, obviously in the U.S. and my parents would just, my mom was home. She would just literally you just had to be home by sunset. The door would go open, or you'd have kids that would come and knock on the door because they knew there was another kid that lived there, and just say, hey, can they play? And the negotiation was, basically, we want to play kickball or something, and do you want to come out and play? That was it. That was you just go out and you just
Yeah.
played, and it wasn't this. I don't know, it wasn't even anything close to what we have,
Yeah.
today.
Well, I have
So,
a follow-up question. So how does your son feel as a kid being homeschooled versus his neighbors who are going to public or private school? Like, is there any kind of weirdness when he talks to other kids, or do they just not care?
I think he feels cool, but other kids do feel that why aren't you going to school? You should go to school. It'll be good for you. And obviously, other kids they want to advise him, but he
mm,
feels cool and he's happy because he has got the opportunity to hang out with other homeschoolers, and he understands
oh,
that there
nice.
are many others like him who are homeschooling, and he understands like learning can happen anywhere. It's not just has to be in a school only.
Mm-hmm.
So he has more broad understanding of
Yeah.
and exposure also. So he's okay. But sometimes he also comes back home and says, "Should I go to school?" So we're like, "It's
Uh,
your choice." It has always been his choice.
that's very cool.
But in the end, he just comes back. I'm okay. I'll be homeschooled.
How do you guys find your other homeschoolers? If it's a minority of people who are doing it, how are you finding other like-minded parents and families?
Like for example, here we when we started living here, we just by accident bumped into another homeschooling family. They were also living here only since past 2 years, and now they've moved on to Bangkok. But that was just a coincidence. Other than that, he probably explained.
Yeah, like my I had a friend, and he also has homeschooled his children. So So when I was also wondering with this question, so I had asked him, and then he said, he talked something, and then said, "Why don't you join one meetup? They have a meetup every year in different places in India every year once." So we just went to the meetup and to just learn about it, meet other parents, and ask all the questions that we have, because other parents were already practicing. So as homeschooling parents,
Mm-hmm.
so we just asked questions, and then there were others also, because we go randomly at different cities. So then other parents also from that city, when it's in their neighborhood, they also drop in a day or two, and then talk and discuss with other practicing parents how they do it, or what are the regulations, or like the questions like how will they give exams, how will they go to universities, because they all need those college degrees or school degrees. So how will that's the general exam, because there is an exam phobia here, like you have to pass those exams to be anything. So and that is massive amount of waste for children, massive amount of waste, because the exam select like exam selects 0.01% of candidates. The amount of candidates that apply, like maybe a million candidates apply, and maybe 2000 get selected, and the million children who study for it are have studied that for 2 years, 3 years, and they have studied with the notion that this is the only thing in life. And then when they, of course, mostly they won't go through, and then it's a devastation. So it's a
Oh,
big
wow.
waste of resources and money for them, and for as a country.
Wow.
Yeah, what a waste of human resources.
Yeah.
What do those kids who don't make it on the exam score, what options do they have then for career and further education?
So it's like based on marks, I think, because I have also not gone through such a thing. I was very medium level student, so I didn't go through such exams, or I just got hooked onto computers when I was in my teens. And then while the exam is going on, I'm supposed to study, I was still working on my computer. So it was a pretty it was pretty horrible with those days. But that's what, like, I completely went on in this direction because I didn't care of the world. So in that way, I'm not sure of how things are, and they keep changing. Nowadays, I think there are scorers. So based on, if you get certain marks, you get this type of engineering. If you get certain marks, you get this type of engineering, or you get this type of college, or you get good college, or you get medium college, or you get not very popular college, and something like that. There are ranges of scores, the way they happen.
Mm.
The same thing I had noticed with my friend in Peru, that when he said, you get an average marks, like in here you get 60%, 70% is a very good marks, and you'll get any university you want. I was like, 70%? In India, if you get 70%, you're going to be treated like you failed the exam.
Yeah, yeah,
Schools are
The
going to be
cultural
high, 90
culture. Yeah.
plus.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
So,
so
and that is a quite nice thing. Like if 70% and a student has no pressure to compete or to do 95%. Like if you have got 90%, you are already in a danger zone. 90% score in
mm,
all subject average, you are in a danger zone. So there's something seriously wrong somewhere.
yeah. I mean, on one hand, I respect that the culture has a place for performance or people who can do things exceptional. There's part of me that says that's a good thing. The thing though, from a homeschooling perspective and the Bitcoin perspective, is it even the right metric? Right? Does this have anything to do with really helping our kids be successful in the future? And to your point, no. Like studying this this exam doesn't mean you're going to be good at as an entrepreneur. It doesn't mean you're going to be good understanding money or raising a family or whatever it is that you want to do. And so I appreciate that there's a focus on excellence and hard work, but it's fundamentally pointed in a way that it's sort of fiat. It's just fiat. Someone says, I declare that this test is important, and everybody else should say that this test is important too. Or I declare that these grades are important, and everybody should say, okay, the grades are valuable. And that's it. They aren't really tied to anything real. And it just reminds me of the whole money analogy where someone declares that this is valuable, and we're all supposed to say, oh, yeah, that's valuable. You kind of, it just doesn't, it's just a waste of human potential. That it's just to do that.
Yes.
So
will your son be participating in the exams, or will he stay outside the system completely?
He will be taking exams.
He will.
definitely.
Okay.
yeah, I think does
So for
he?
graduation, you have to have those papers to provide,
Mm-hmm.
and then they take admission in any college.
Yeah,
So that's prerequisite. So he will have to take exams
yeah.
So it
unless
is,
he doesn't want to take graduation. He doesn't
Okay.
want to graduate then, but definitely he will take exams.
Yeah.
so is it your plan currently that your son will pursue a college degree then?
Yes, I'm looking forward for it. I don't know what he wants. Let's see what he's interested in.
Yeah. So do you guys teach extra subjects that are not normally taught in a public program? So for example, I mean, as Bitcoiners, we talk about money literacy all the time. Are you teaching your son how money really works? Something that maybe not be, I don't even know what the curriculum is, but something that's not normally part of the standard school curriculum. Are you telling him, no, you need to study this subject, whatever it is? It doesn't have to be money. But are you adding other things to the curriculum that you think will help in his future success? Is it purely whatever he's interested in?
Like he is interested into making games. He's learning Unity. He's learning graphic designing on his own. Those are the things that he picked up on his own. He's learning. And other than that, like about money and all those things, I'm not very good at it. So he is the one who discusses with him on and off. And other than textbooks, we get other books which are not related to any school or anything, and he would read those along with him. I think
Yeah.
he would share.
Like as an homeschooling, one very big difference is that you don't have 30 or 50 kids in a class and a teacher has to concentrate on each of them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not possible. So you have one to one.
Mm-hmm.
You have all the time with you, and he has all the time, and you know his schedule. And I'm working from home, so I don't even have to go to office also. So that the thing is, we always go on tangents. Like anything, you go talk about something, and we are talking about fourth different thing completely, and then we lost what we were talking about, and we have to come back. Like for 2 months now, we are reading the Martian, the book. I had read it like 4 5 years back, and and I am not very good at chemistry. I'm not very good at understanding gases and many things. Also, not good at agriculture. But that book has like I we can't count on how many subjects that book jumps over quickly, and it does it hands on. It's like you can take a pen and pencil and do the calculations, and they'll match. It will explain to you everything on so many subjects. It's so
Really?
that's one.
Oh, wow. I'm going to go get the book now. I'm going to go.
I started the book with our kids, but we didn't finish because there was a lot of cussing in there. And our kids were little, so I turned it off. But I did watch the movie, and I found it fascinating. And now I have to go read the book again.
No, I like it as a teaching technique because people learn better through story. And And here you
Yeah.
have this context of a story,
Mm.
but but while you're going through there, something piques your interest, and you go down that. You just pursue the chemistry, the agriculture, and whatever else is coming up in the book. I
That's
think that's a really cool way of teaching, completely completely outside the normal way of teaching. And those are things he'll probably remember things so much better than if you try to lecture him on
Yeah.
those. If you just said, okay, we're gonna do a course on, I don't know, chemistry, agriculture, whatever. I mean,
well, as he was
I don't know.
saying before, you can teach differently. So you can teach the subjects compartmentalized and individually, unrelated to each other, or you can use the whole. I forget the term now. The holistic approach where you go into one topic, but then all the subjects are touched on and related in that topic. So I think that's really awesome.
Oh, I love
So
it.
question, what has been the biggest struggle for you guys as a homeschooling family, and how did you overcome it?
Finding more homeschoolers all the time around.
Mm-hmm.
Because school going people, they have that community all the time with them. But we can definitely not have that.
Mm.
So what kind of activities is he involved in? Is it music? Is it sports? And is he able to participate in? Are you finding other things for him to help make those connections?
Yeah, he's going for music classes. He's learning piano. He even got second prize in the talent show in his own school where he's learning. And we try to do sports with him. He's also going to join chess. There's a group that is teaching chess here, and we are trying to do more sports,
Mm.
but not get started. Like it's just between us only, family only, going out for like a run and trying other activities like for going for a trek because we're on a mountain, and yeah, so those kind of things.
So, how would you answer people who ask you about not being socialized when you homeschool your kid? Like, what would you say to them? That's always the number one
Um,
question.
We
How
get
do
that.
they get
Yeah, we get
socialized?
that a lot here. When
Yeah.
the first time we were telling people, like even our own families, our extended families, they're like, "Oh my God, what about socialization?"
Yeah. How would you answer that?
we just tell them the truth. It's as normal as any other kid. He talks to everybody. It's not like he's going to just talk to kids only. He can talk to adults also. He can talk to younger people also. He's not very shy, but he's sort of reserved. And he's everybody has their own unique personalities. If somebody's talking to him, he'll talk.
Hmm.
He's like that.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I do get questions like, "Don't you feel alone?" Then that's a fair question. It's like, yes, but we're there all the time with him, and then he has his own online friends also. So he's playing. He's built his own community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
not like he's completely like feeling like alone or something.
Hmm.
Most important for me was that he's happy or not.
Yeah,
So he's happy.
that's good. And you said earlier that you're leaving this choice up to him, right? Whether he wants to stay on the homeschooling track or go a traditional track. You're letting him make the decision.
Yes. For me, it was always this. That if he wants to go to school, we'll work it out. But so far, he's happy going down this road.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You also mentioned in the earlier part of the show that you both work because you have a business and your husband has his job. So, can you answer this question for some people who are thinking about homeschooling? How can I homeschool if we're both working?
Well, it depends. Like, I'm not trying to scale up the business and just keeping it sustainable, fewer clients. And it's just to keep myself sharp, not become something huge. So for him, it's like he's the one who's mostly working.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm mostly with him.
Gotcha. So you do have.
But it
Sounds like
is
you
going to
both.
be a very easy choice to make. Like our children are most important. So I have to, if my child is most important and I have to give the time I need for him, then I should find ways to adjust my work or things like that so that I can give the time. I mean, for me, the choice will not be that should I homeschool or not. I have job, so I will not homeschool. But so then you are not making the child more important. So the decision should be it should be simple.
I think it's cool to, I mean, you're giving them, think about what the message is that you're saying to them. I trust that you as a human being are going to be able to think for yourself and make a decision. I mean, that just the fact that you do that as opposed to going to a school, you're going to be here at a certain time, you're going to study these certain subjects, you're going to prepare for this. Everything is told to you and you're not really thought to think for yourself. Just the fact that you even had this conversation is already teaching them something about life and themselves. Just the fact that you're asking the question, they're like, "Oh, I can think for myself." Okay, and they struggle with that, and then they're better. So I think just even asking the question is powerful. So
And just
There's
setting the right priority. I think I was having a conversation with a doctor recently, and she said it breaks her heart that she sees young athletes sustain injury and then just get patched up and put right back on the field because the college scouts are there and they're trying to get in front of the colleges. They want to play and they want to get scholarships. So the health of the child's body actually takes a back seat because our incentives are so skewed. Our priorities are so skewed. So just the fact that homeschooling allows us to prioritize what is most important is just amazing.
right. So when we were asking you guys to come on, selfishly, we wanted to hear about what homeschooling was like in India. Like we just wanted to hear like something else. But what are we not asking? Is there either something on your mind that we haven't asked you that you would really like to tell people about? Is there something that has been very good or I don't know, a big struggle, an insight? I don't want to be completely biased. Just the fact that Tali and I happen to take an interest in this, and we're just going to peg you guys with questions all day long. I mean, what's on your mind? Like, what is it what are you guys curious about right now with homeschooling? What have you found that was surprising? What would you like to share with new parents? So, for example, we have a lot of Bitcoiner new parents, or they're a young couple thinking about having their kids, and they understand the importance of all the things that we've just been talking about. So, what's on your mind? What kind of if you had one thing to share, what kind of advice would you give to some of those folks in those earlier stages?
Like there's one example which I have seen with traditional schooling children after they finish their high school is that like even I was also passing through that phase when you suddenly have to choose whether it's going to be science or arts or engineering or things like that, and I was like, nobody told me there is some choice to make, and it's like the career choice you have to go through completely isolated, and I was indecisive, like I didn't know what it means. Even now when the students are passing through the high school, the they are not confident of what they're good at, what is their, what are they capable of, or what is the 10 things that they want to do in life. They are not they don't have a self motivation that I want to do this, or I want to try this, or I want to do drawing, or I want to be a carpenter, or I want to drive planes or fly planes or something. But they are like market driven, like my coach has told me I can be this, or my cousin has said that do in computers it's good, or my teacher says you're good at maths so you should do this PhD, or like uh, someone has told you what you should be doing, and you're making a decision on that, so you don't actually have your, so spending 15 years in an education system and you still could not, that system still does not give you enough intelligence is the right word, or capacity to make certain decisions of which path you want to take, and those paths should be flexible. It should be like I can take that path, and if I'm not good at it or I don't like it, I can change that path. But that's not how you pass through high school or pass through the 15 or 17 years of education. You have to be very definite of that path, and if you can't go through that path, it's very risky, because there's a lot of unemployment problem in India these days. So it's a very risky situation if you are not good at that. But that's not how life is. That's not how nature is designed. You have to be flexible. It should be easy to change. It should be easy to make change your decisions. It should be easy to pivot into something else that you like also like. There's not one thing. Anybody is not born for one skill. They have 100 skills they are good at. We might discover 10 only of them. You may completely not know the 80% skills that you're good at unless you are given that opportunity to do it. Unless you are, for example, given a microscope to see the cells. So you don't know how good you are at that, or unless you are given to study rocks. So you don't know, maybe you're good at studying rocks. So the education system should make you mature enough that it should give you a pinch of all those things so that you can choose it. So in homeschooling, you can witness your son or your child on which alignment they are going to, and then you can give them more material on that and see how they get on that more on that. So it's like a customized curriculum, and
Mm-hmm.
the path that he's going on, you can even more customize it, and the speed that he's going on, you'll have to do a lot of homework for it to supply the next set of materials for it. So that way they can be flexible, and they'll have the materials to keep on going more and more towards whatever they like. It won't be like, I don't know what I like. They'll have like 4 5 things that they like. That's much better than what traditional education system produces. Like, they don't know what they like. This is a very big exam, and 9 students are going to attempt it, so I'll also attempt it. That's not a reason.
Yeah. I
Wow,
It's
so I
there's
agree.
so many things there.
Yeah.
That
I'll
Go
go
ahead.
first. Okay, yeah. So I really, really agree with what you're saying. We society, I think, and especially the public school system, makes changes almost a negative thing. Like, don't you have any persistence? Why did you change your mind, kind of thing? And you have to choose so early because it's so competitive, right? But we are still, in that way, focused on the academic subjects versus the broader definition of what people are interested in. So, for example, you can be interested in math or art, right? And they're two different academic subjects. However, you can also, maybe instead of academic interest, you're interested in problem solving. And if you're, as long as you're problem solving, any subject will make you happy. Or if you're very detail oriented and you just like to get into nitty gritty, you may be happy in different academic subjects, but the part of it that you love is one particular part of the process. So our education system doesn't allow that differentiation. It's very subject oriented, and so in that way we also have the flexibility as homeschoolers to allow our kids to focus in on that part of the process. And yeah, I absolutely agree with everything that you just said. Your son is very lucky.
Well, I mean, yeah, my head's just exploding with it. There's so many different aspects to that, and then I would also I'm going to go on a limb and say that I bet you that most of the conversations that people have, where they're making, like when the cousin recommends you should go do computers, right? When that conversations, or a teacher or coach says, I think you should be a doctor, or whatever it is, they're probably driven by how they're going to make the most money, right? Whereas what you just described is, what are your natural talents and what are your natural interests? Can you imagine if 8 billion people pursued their natural talents and their natural interests, right? The division of labor, if you will, this kind of division of the minds. If you did that, wow, people would be more satisfied and they would be
Yeah,
able to contribute
absolutely.
more. And not only is the system not even allowing you that exposure to figure that out, the recommendations they're getting are probably biased based on the fiat money, and they're probably just recommending things you should get. If you get in the top percent of this test, you can go to a school. If you go to the school, you can get a job in this career and you can make money. Nowhere in that discussion is what are you good at? What do you want? Like what's going to make you fulfilled and a happy human being? Not even it's not even part of the equation, right? And it's so basic when you say it the way you said it.
Yeah.
You're saying why wouldn't everybody want this? And anyway, that's that was a really great point. I don't even actually know where to go. Is there anything else? Like that was awesome. What else are you?
I'll give you this. Like in my profession, we have software developers, and most of the software developers, I'm talking about India and the way they are educated from colleges here and through the professors and all that, mostly are below average. They are doing a pushover job, pushover quality, and producing very medium grade software. And the reason because is that they all came back because I'll get to go to Europe, or I'll get to go to Australia or US, or I can go to UK. And my brother has gone there and things. I'm just giving from my profession. I'm sure this is spread across all other professions the same way, that they are at the wrong job. And when you are at the wrong job for a very wrong reason, you will never excel at it. You'll never have the curiosity to get good at it. You'll never do more than you're asked to. You'll never go and learn more than you're asked to. And it will you'll never realize this is not helping. This is not helping the employer. This is not helping you, and this is not helping the product what you're making. And uh, so this is the situation. Then what, the entire country's economy or the entire society does not grow at a good pace when the wrong people are doing the job, because they don't know they were all fit into the wrong boxes.
Hmm. Yeah.
So it's better to be happy and do the right thing, because then you are going to be very good at it. You'll learn more
Hmm.
things, and you'll
Yeah.
break things, and you'll experiment more things, more than what is told to you, because then you own the subject.
Wow.
So that changes a lot.
I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it. So we've gone for a little while, and that is an awesome high point there to me. My recommendation is that I like to kind of wrap it up with each of you. Maybe just what would your recommendations be to families, or think about yourself 12 years ago. You just, your son's 1 year old, and you got to decide what to do. What would be your recommendations if you were talking to a couple that was in that early phase with their families?
How I started it was like I was already scared. I didn't want to really do it because it's like homeschooling. How will I do it? Like, how will I make? Because I am a teacher myself. Like, I've done masters in physical education, so I know that there is a lesson plan and a lot of things that I'll have to prepare. So I will have all the burden and this and that. And how will I cover the subjects, academics? Because that's not what I actually did my degrees in. I can teach sports. So I had a lot of questions. But then he gave me an idea. He's like, all right, let's try it for 2 years. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, we'll, choose the school. So I think we have that buffer. I think if you want to really try it, now is the time to try it. And if it doesn't work, then I don't think it's like the word has ended and the going back to the school is not an option. It's always open. But if you never try it, you never know.
Love it. Well said. Because, did you want to add to that? You want to? That was good advice.
Yes, yeah, the same, like best teacher that we can be is ourselves to our children. We know the way when they are not in a good mood, when they are little getting angry for small things, when they are very happy, or when they are understanding. We are the best teachers. And in homeschooling, of course, you have to be the teacher. and you can see the gestures, you can see when they are paying attention, you can immediately see within few seconds he lost it at that sentence. So you have to go back and start over, or you have to keep asking. So that way you can always verify what you're explaining is getting inside and is understood. So that's like the best thing when you want to educate anything. And it's not for it's not like you have to do PhD in everything for say in the
Yeah.
till you are at the 10th. I think 80% of the knowledge is already there. We all have that knowledge. It's a general knowledge and things like that. So, and for some subjects we can also spend time to study. Sometimes for his maths I also have to go back and understand few things myself before I can explain, or because we have to invent problems. We can't give him the textbook problems. I'll have to give him some other type of problems in a real world scenario, and that takes time to compose a math problem with a real world, not a textbook like a car is going at this speed and that is train is coming at this speed. That
Yeah.
so it's interesting always, but we have to be ready for homeworks. We as a parent will have to do a lot of homework.
Right. It's hard work, but it's worth it, right? I mean, that's
Also, like the basic difference that I felt, because I feel lucky to have being introduced to the good community, the right community for us. The way they introduced it to us is the name itself is like Swa section, which means you teach yourself, you learn yourself. So it's not like we really have to be the teachers. We allow our kids to learn on their own. We allow them to keep exploring, keep learning, and we are also learning along with them. So there's not that much of a pressure on either of us. Like neither the child is under pressure nor are we, because we've allowed us to explore, make mistakes, and take our time. We have enough time because, and there's no pressure to prove to anybody. And he is really, really learning nicely, and we can see that. So, like, I could always compare in terms of like reading, because he learned to read on his own. I never taught him. And I found that he is able to read and he is reading very fluently. And his English is also, I would say, better than mine. So we realize that this concept of self-learning, like learning on your own, it's natural. If you just allow it to happen, then you will see that it is actually a thing.
absolutely.
Love it.
Well, you guys are doing awesome work, and it is a lot of work, like we just said. And I think you're as Tali, I'll steal her line. Your son's very lucky that you guys have been so open minded to pursue this, and we're super grateful that the time zone. I know it's super late, and you guys stayed up to talk to us today. We're so grateful for that. So with that, I think we should wrap up. You guys, if you could stay on the line, and Talia, am I missing anything?
No, I'm so glad to be able to chat with you guys. It gives us a glimpse of what's going on in India homeschooling wise, because you're the first family that I've come across who's doing homeschooling in India. So I love it. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences. I think you guys are doing fabulous. And again, I think your son is a very lucky young man. And
Yeah,
he's
it's very
gonna do
motivating.
yeah, he's
Very
going to do
motivating.
amazing things. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. It was
Thank you very much.
I'm
We had a
gonna.
great time.
Good.
Yeah,
I'm
all
glad. I'm so glad.
We don't need to seek trust when we can see proof. It is real-time consensus that aligns us to evolve. This is how, amidst uncertainty, our lives continue to grow when we uphold our own rules, we preserve our own worth, and defend our own voice, which lets the true market emerge. The strength of the design lies in each of our participation, since we are the nodes that channel our energy end to end. As we claim responsibility to uphold our own rights, we radiate the power that brings our truth into light. And when that dawn of light touches all paths, parts of the globe, and it ripples throughout society, and it returns us the hope that becomes the power that sparks humanity to thrive, that same power that fuels the creation of the mind. And when our mind and our money are truly set free and they transcend the limits of past boundaries, now knowing becomes owning and ideas become wealth. What happens now? We can all push to expand the edges of our existence. It is through evolution when things are the hardest. As we head for the light, we have to push through the darkness. It is in these moments we do what we do best. We take the chaos and the darkness and use our power to create. It is in these moments when we're all in alignment and our freedom of difference ascends us to our highest amidst the depth of it all. Know that hope is not gone. It is always darkest before dawn.